Good evening, everybody, and a very, very warm welcome indeed to what is going to be an exciting evening of virtual motor racing action. That's right, simracing.gp presents the Next Level Racing GT3 Cup Final, and it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you all on the Next Level Racing channels, social media, and YouTube for this grand final event. My name, of course, is Paul Jeffrey, and I'm even more delighted to welcome alongside me in the commentary box the one and only Dan Terry. Mr. Dan Terry, good evening to you, sir.
Hello, Paul. How are you? You all right?
Yeah, really good. Looking forward to this one, man. I think it's going to be a festival of virtual motorsport across these three races.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think we've got some of the final 32 drivers here this evening with us, and we're going to take three short, fast trips pretty much across the globe. Hitting Valencia in Spain, heading over to Australia with Bathurst, and then ending up in America for Cota to finish off.
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, it's going to be short, sharp blasts. The astute of you at home will see that the session timer at the top of the screen is coming to an end. So qualifying for the first of those three races, which is here and now at Valencia, is about to take part. And Dan, just while the cars leaving pit lane strangely altogether, which I think is a mistake, but hey ho, we'll get onto that in a minute. Can you just tell our audience a little bit about how we've got to this point and why these 32 drivers are here and taking part, please?
Yeah, certainly can. So we're at the end of a sort of a 5-round knockout competition. So those that have seen it on social media and on Sim Racing GP would have noticed that there's been the Next Level Racing GT3 Cup. This is the third year we've done it, and its normal format is all the drivers will sign up at the start. We had just over 500 drivers for the preliminary rounds take part at Monza just over 4 weeks ago, and we whittle those guys down to 42 with an extra little twist this year in the fact that the finalists that took part, if you were here with us last year at Bathurst in the miserable rain that it was last year for our hour-long finale, those drivers got through into the quarterfinals, so they got to join the competition at the quarterfinal stage as a sort of an extra reward for getting into the final last year. So out of those 32 drivers that are here with us last year, only 4 of them made it through to the final, so we're getting possibility of 28 brand new names into the final for this year. So it's going to be good to see some of the old guard of last year hustle down with the young dogs that are coming in for this year.
Yep, absolutely. And in about 8.5 minutes' time, we'll have a look at the qualifying results and talk through a few of those names. But additional to that as well, this is not just, unlike last time round, this is not just a standalone race. This is a set of 3, as we alluded to at the top of the broadcast. So points are on offer for the top 20 places for all of these drivers, and those points will be tallied up at the end, and an overall victor will be crowned. And as again, the astute of you at home will notice, Valencia is the first track, and Dan, this is pretty much the newest track in ACC. So there's a little bit of a curveball almost being thrown at these drivers right from the very off.
Yeah, it certainly has. I mean, it was very popular in the first couple of weeks of it coming out, and obviously it's been out for near enough a month now. But the cars have remained very popular, as we can see a lot of Ferraris, Porsches, and Lamborghinis on the grid. The track not so much. So we thought, yeah, we'll give it a run out at the start. These guys have been chatting away in Discord and sharing setup tips and how to try and extract the best out of the car around some of the much more flowing. When I took part in the preview event and some of the races afterwards, I put this sort of akin to, I would say, maybe a mixture of Mazzano and Kyalami if they had an interesting night out and had a fantastic fantastic Valencia baby at the end of it. Is how I see this track forming. But Chris Warner then coming around to set the first sort of lap on the board of qualifying, and we'll see how he gets on. And a name that's been sort of floating around the esports and ACC scene for quite a while.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the beautiful thing about this competition as well. There are a lot of drivers here that you will recognise if you follow esports and elite competitions around the globe. But there are also, conversely, a lot of drivers that may very well be new to you as part of this competition. And that's the beauty of the SGP platform. That's the beauty of the Next Level Racing competition. It is open to absolutely everybody. So the qualification phase, I'm sure, Dan, you can put some more meat on the bones on this one in a moment, but it really was a case of, it's not about the skill level, it's about your consistency, your cleanliness, the ability to turn up, to compete, to race fairly, and then obviously as we got closer to the crescendo of the qualifying phase. It got more difficult, and then the pace came in. So it really is an open and level playing field, isn't it, for these drivers to participate, and hopefully for them start to make a name for themselves in this little environment.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's been sort of widely seen as the stepping stone into a wider competition. We've seen names that took part in the first and second iterations of the competition now taking part in competitions with SRO and the likes of that throughout the years. So it's good to see that, yeah, these quite a few drivers use this as right. It's been rewarding consistency, as you mentioned. The top X amount and get through. That doesn't mean that it's the top 1 or 2 of every heat. It tends to be the top 50%, top 25% as we get later on down the line. But that's still going to allow some underdogs to sneak through and get themselves into the final. And then who knows if the practice servers are up all week. Some people will practice for an hour for this. Some people will practice all week, and you'll just see a variety of people sort of. As you mentioned as well, like sort of the cream rising to the top in this stage, and with going from the 1 round, 1 hour finale with a pit stop put in there and some random weather, we're going to give the opportunity for the drivers to tackle 3 vastly different tracks as well this evening. So.
And I love that one, because that opens a completely different skill set about adaptability. And speaking of big names and skill sets, look at the top of the time. Andrea Miato and Robbie Stapleford are the 2 drivers that are currently locking out the provisional front row of the grid. There's only really 1 time lap being set yet, so expect those times to tumble. And as I say that, Magnane goes second quickest. It's a Lamborghini 1, 2, 3, 4, and a Ferrari 5, 6, then a Porsche all on its own, and then a whole load more Ferrari. So if you've got an Italian car, I think you're going to be pretty much in the money for this first race.
Yeah, you certainly are. This is and just to touch back on the format as well. This is the only qualifying session you will see this evening. So with the 3 races that we've got, the qualifying will set the grid for race 1. In race 2, the top 10 finishers here at Valencia will be reversed. So P10 will start on P1 and P1 will start at P10, and the rest of the drivers will start where they finish at Valencia when we move into Bathurst, and then the same again when we move on to Cota as well. So. We've got some qualifying record stats off of the lap records at SGP for you, but only one that's going to be relevant is tonight, and that's we're very close to that. Miato is very, very close to it. He's only actually 9 100ths off of setting a new qualifying lap record that's currently held by Daniil Talik in a Ferrari 296 with a 1:29.900. So Miato find 9 100ths, and he could go ahead and set himself a new quali lap record here at Valencia tonight. Actually, he does. I'll say that, and he does.
Well, I'd just like to say, as an old and cynical man that's been commentating esports for a long, long time, congratulations and well done for only having 1 qualifying session, because they are boring to broadcast. So that is brilliant news. A bit of reverse top 10, a bit of strategy needs to get thrown into the equation as well for these drivers. And it's, do you want to score big in the first race, or do you feel stronger for the next round, and maybe you'd rather be higher up the field for Bathurst, let's say, than scoring a mid-podium position here at Valencia. So that's going to be fascinating to watch that one wash out as we're riding on board with Surikanow car number 16, position number 9, as he comes to the line. He's currently just over 0.8 of a second away from the ultimate pace. He crosses the line but does not improve his position, so he stays in 9th place. Miato is down pit lane with that new 29.717 to go quickest. He's coming back out again, though, for one final throw of the dice. Gert Fischer in a rare BMW, one of only 2 BMWs that we can see at this moment in time in the top 23, is currently holding on to that 10th place starting grid position at this moment in time. He's halfway around the lap now. It is Fischer, so will he be able to improve as he gets to the line? We'll keep our eye on that one. The all-black matte machine looking menacing in the hands of the West Competition Racing driver, car number 14. And Papin then now. So Dan, Papin has gone up into 2nd place, 4 tenths away from Miato at the front of the field.
Yeah, he certainly has. Keeping an eye on the timing screen that I can see here and trying to find the drivers that are improving. Aiden, Walsing. I heard you practicing names, and I definitely should have done that before I started. I mean, it's a running theme with me getting names wrong. It's been a long time since I've been in the commentary booth. But Aiden, anyway, 2 tenths up on his lap, should put himself onto the 2nd row of the grid, and does in that Visceral Esports Ferrari. But yeah, as you mentioned, Papin as well, already a 10th and a half up. Coming through to the end of the first sector, and looking to be the only one that really can hold his own with Miato this evening.
But that is an impressive. We've still got a 1:16 left on the clock, but that's an impressive advantage from Miato this moment in time, just a whisker under 0.4 of a second to the good. Papin, as you say, is very much the closest challenger, in second position. He's on a good lap, is car number 13. Will that bring in good luck? Will that bring in misfortune? Bit of a voodoo number in the world of sports. 13 tends to bring bad luck, but Pastor Maldonado famously ran with that number in Formula One a few years ago, because in Venezuela, 13, quite the opposite way round, is a lucky number. Will it be lucky for the Jean Alesi esports team and Remy Papin? We'll find out in a few moments' time. Now it's the difficult downhill off camber corner. You've got to be careful on your brakes, but you want to get early on the accelerator, stay within track limits, or you will have your time disallowed. Look how he's hugging the runoff to make sure he's got the shortest run to the line, does Papin, but he crosses with a 1 minute 30.125, so a few thousand short of his ultimate lap time, and sadly that is still provisional second with 1 lap left to go.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, I was looking at the time as he went, and he lost it all in that downhill braking section, as you mentioned, whereas Caracas, which we've just jumped on board with here as well, just improved by 2 tenths in that sector alone. Stapleford as well in the G2 Esports. Weird for me to say Lamborghini and not a BMW attached to that G2 Esports brand, but he has found himself 0.2 as well. So Final chances to get the laps in then. This is going to be Stapleford moving into second then. So they're really tight at the top with a 1:30.075 and Papin on a 1:30.095. Papin at the moment not improving on his lap, and not a lot of other drivers are. I'm afraid looking lots of red on the deltas of the cars that are still out on track. Papin's the only one that's really going to have any sort of hold a candle to try and put Robbie Stapleford, and it's going to have to see if he can find it in this last long sweeping left-hander. That fantastic track, fantastic corner around this track.
Yep, it is a great corner, but it's much easier to lose time than it is to win it. A little bit unstable on the brakes and turning for Remy Papin there, the Jean Alesi Esports Lamborghini again, as before, just hugging that painted line to the side to give him the shortest run to the flag, but that is not quite enough. He crosses the line and breaks the beam with a 30.350, so 2 seconds, 0.2 of a second, away from his ultimate. We're looking now, Chris Warner in the Ferrari, the brand new Ferrari, into Assetto Corsa Competizione, 7th position at this moment in time for Warner. He moves up 1 into 6th, dispossessing Caracas from that top 6th position as well. So a good final throw of the dice there for Chris Warner. We've got Alexander Hoots down on the circuit as well, still to complete his time, and that is pretty much the end of qualification, as my screen goes white momentarily. So Dan, wave your mouse for me, please, dude.
There we go.
There we go. Thank you very much. And there is our qualification times for this first race. Andrew Miato is the man on pole position, car number 73 in the Lamborghini, just ahead of yet another Lamborghini for Robbie Stapleford. Papin and Magnane are our top 4 drivers, and that just goes to show Lamborghini proving to be a very competitive car here at the Valencia the circuit. Riccardo Tomo is new to Assetto Corsa Competizione. The Evo 2 Lamborghini is also a very new car. Sorry, the Huracan GT3 Evo is a very new car as well, and that's proven at this moment in time, Dan, to be the car to have after this first qualification session ahead of our first race of 3 this evening in the Next Level Racing GT3 Cup Grand Final.
It has, and I really do. I mean, we're shooting straight down the barrel of the gun, and I appreciate you filling there, because I'm fully aware that the screen disappeared as you were talking. So, as it is, but like I say, we're on the grid, short formation lap, as we mentioned with the qualifying and then the reverse grid. We're not messing around this evening. We're keeping these drivers from going around the full formation lap, trying to get as much heat as their tyres. We just want to see them cold tyres straight into T1, see who comes out the other side. and yeah, so Miato starting the session on pole, but I was really interested in what you had to mention earlier as well about the drivers having to think further into the competition, with Sudaka there in P10 in that number 16 Porsche is in the prime position to be first into turn 1 at Bathurst for the round 2. And do you think that's going to be something that's playing on these guys' minds, of turn 1 at Valencia, a lot more open, a lot more that we can get away with over there, whereas it's going to be very much, hopefully, not a pile-up, but single file as we go up the mountain for the first time when we head to Bathurst?
Yeah, absolutely. I think every driver that's going to go and race between the walls and, as you say, up through the mountain at Bathurst, have got to take into consideration track position and placement. You don't want to be in the middle of the pack because we've said this more times than I've had hot meals. If the grand final evening activity begins here at Valencia, and it is Robbie Stapleford and Andrew Miato challenging for the lead, heading down into the swooping fast left-hander here at the beautiful circuit. Ricardo Tomo and Stapleford out a little bit wide. That allows Papin to get involved as well. There's contact further down the running order as well. Several cars askew in the middle of the circuit, multiple contacts. Chris Warner in the Ferrari for peak performance involved in that one as well. But Miato at the front of the field gets away cleanly and has an early advantage. Stapleford and Papin squabbling over the second and third position as well for the fight for the podium. Immediately breaking free of the charging pack behind. Magnane is the man that's the leader of that challengers in fourth position. Good start from Caracas as well. And Walshingham in the fight too in sixth position. So clean at the front and disaster in the middle of the pack, Dan. Exactly like we said at the top of the broadcast, be in the middle, be in the danger zone.
Yeah, that's okay. We said we'd start with a nice open turn one, and weirdly enough, they all found the back of one Lamborghini and ended up into a massive pileup. We do have live stewarding on offer here this evening, so they will be looking to get down to the bottom of who was the cause for that incident. But as you said, the front three nice and clean. But Wallisham's the one that's jumped up. He started in position 12 and finds himself in 6th now, with Gert Fischer behind him in that number 14 BMW for West Competition Racing. But the front three off to the races: Miato, Papin, Stapleford, and they're now just trying to get as clear as they possibly can from the filtering. The rest of them behind them. But in the points paying position, somehow out of all of that is still Sudakar, who's sitting in 10th and looking pretty to get that reverse grid pole for the next race. But first lap coming to an end, Miato sees himself running away with it a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, these are critical stages for these drivers. The cars are at their heaviest, of course, because they're fueled to the checkered flag. There'll be no pit stops in this event or the entirety of this evening. The tyres are at their coldest because it's the opening lap, so the pressures are coming up, the temperatures are coming up as well. So, realistically speaking, it's only a 20-minute sprint race. This is where the cars are at their most flighty. Hence, this is where the drivers are at their most vulnerable. So what the likes of Andrea Miato here that we're looking at on screen, racing in the Rattan Racing Esports by Clash Machine, this is about trying to gently build advantage. He's going to be hoping that the likes of Papin and Stapleford behind are wise enough to know, let's sprint at this stage. Let's not fight each other, hold each other up. Let's sprint, build ourselves a comfort blanket, a bit of a gap to the chasing pack behind, and then sort of 5, 10, 11, 12 minutes down the road, then we can think about looking about who's going to be first, second and third. But more interestingly for me, as you said, Dan, is this little squabble on the bubble. So we've got Schutz in here that we're looking at now in 9th position. Just behind him is Sadaka in the Porsche. So Ferrari versus a Porsche. Remember, 10th position is pole for Bathurst. So this is where the real story and interest factor is for me at this moment in time. Who's going to take that 10th position? How's that gamble going to work? And can the likes of Apostle buy into this fight as well and move up from 11th? Because one place you do not want to be on the checkered flag is 11th position, because you're so close to the rainbow, but you can't quite reach it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, looking at who's been the big gainers and big losers after that turn 1 incident, and Schutzin is one of those. He's gained the most positions. He's gone up 10 positions from 19th to 9th. So he was the big winner. On the other hand, though, as we mentioned, Chris Warner heavily involved in that turn 1 incident, as well as Jimmy Holm as well. I believe we just saw on the mini map he had a yellow flag where he caught himself in a spin in sector 2 and finds himself at the back, both losing 14 positions from the start of the race. But as you mentioned, the bubble in the middle is, and you can see from the mini map on the right hand side, stops at Apostle, so he can't really, well, definitely is probably safe from going any further back, but really wants to grab that 10th place position and see him in good stead going forward. It's just a bit of a kick in the teeth when you think so close but yet so far. Keeping your nose clean, he got caught up a little bit, dropped 3 positions off the start, and now finds himself having to chase down. But this is this mixture of names as well. Some of these names even very rarely heard of in the past, whereas you've got Sebastian Apostle, who's been around extensively in multiple competitions that we've hosted on Sim Racing GP, as well as competing at SRO level for West Competition Racing and the like, and is having to throw down with these guys to see where he can put himself at the end of Valencia.
Yeah, and this is what's really interesting as well. Like you say, it is the mix of the experienced and the drivers that maybe we know a little bit less about, and we have got the likes of Apostle, as you say, running further down than I think anybody would have kind of expected at this stage in proceedings. So I'm fascinated to see if he can move his way forward. Meanwhile, by the way, another driver that's very firmly in the elite tier of esport drivers is this man, Robbie Stapleford for G2 Esports, in a Lamborghini, which may be something he's not that familiar with, or not got as much as wealth of experience that he has in certain other marks in this sort of competition in ACC. But Stapleford now trying to find that bit of speed, and this is what we spoke about. Take it a little bit steady being a relative word, in the opening few laps to get everything together and to build a gap. Now Stapleford looks like that car is a little bit more on its tippy toes. He's starting to think, I need to do something about Papin in front, because look at the Miato walking away at the front of the field. If he doesn't challenge Papin now, it may well be that he's going to run out of time to close down and fight for the race win. And one victory that you give away is just an advantage you cannot afford to lose.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, we need to get as many points as you possibly can. We can see the battle behind Aiden having to sit in the slipstream of the Lamborghini for Magnini, but they put themselves 3 wide. Caracas, Magnini, Wallisham all going into turn 1, and Caracas is going to jump up from that 5th position all up into 4th. Takes probably the track limit penalty as he's going that far off the runoff. I know it's quite forgiving round there, but Wallisham looking down the inside shows Magnini the white and red stripes of the curbs, but they're still, look at the respect between the two of them there behind Caracas, with side by side through at least 3 or 4 corners there.
Yeah, great stuff from Walshcombe there in the Aztec Sim Racing Visceral. Number 9 machine gets the advantage over the Lamborghini, so Ferrari plays Lamborghini advantage to the Ferrari at this moment in time. But here is the bubble fight that we were looking at earlier. Sebastian Apostle now into that 10th position. So Sudica drops down 1. He's into that spot that I said you do not want to be at the end of this checkered flag. 11th position's good points, but frustratingly close to that reverse grid pole. And now Sebastian Apostle, just like we suggested, he's dug around, he's found the lap time, he's found the confidence in that West Competition Racing BMW number 1 on the side of the car, and now it is go time. Does he have enough to find, to close the gap to Schutzin ahead? 12.5 minutes on the clock, I would suggest. Yes, he will. But big question, Dan, is does he want that position and the points that come with it, or is he quite satisfied, thank you very much, to hold on to 10th and risk losing out on the points but getting the better grid start for Bathurst following immediately after this race?
Yeah, I mean, it's taken him a few laps to get himself past Shadaka there in the Porsche, but has managed to get it done. And it's taken them that long to get through that Justin, who was the cork in the bottle a little bit in that battle, has caught himself a nice 2.5 second gap from Apostle, who, knowing sort of the competitions that he's raced in and seeing him out on track, I think he will have the bit between his teeth to move forward. Because even if you get up to 9th, you're going to secure yourself a few extra points for the trophy at the end of the competition, but you'll still be on the front row. And I believe you might be able to correct me if I'm wrong. I'm also pretty sure number 2 starts on the inside at Bathurst as well, so gives himself a little bit of a favourable position. But the battle that we mentioned saw early on the screen between Magnini, Wallisham and Caracas has meant that Gert Fischer and Manisha have all sort of closed up as well, and they've turned themselves into a little gaggle in between 4th and 8th position, with Shustin trying to bridge the gap.
And this is just why we love this kind of racing, isn't it? As soon as you get involved in any kind of squabble, any kind of drama, it immediately brings other people into the conversation. Meanwhile, just quickly to note a little bit further down the running order, 16th position is Adam Kalzake. He's got a 5-second penalty. The little red marker next to his name, 5 seconds, will be applied to his race time at the checkered flag. It's potentially going to knock him out of the points-paying positions if he's not too careful. He has a little bit of a safety net at this moment in time, but Kalzake will need to get a move on if he wants to stay within the top 20 when the checkered flag falls, as we're 36 seconds away from hitting the halfway mark in this opening of 3 races here in the Next Level Racing GT3 Cup, as we now focus on Florian Bauer, car number 44, 14th position, using all the racetrack and a little bit more through that first corner section to carry the speed into the uphill braking zone of the second corner. A really technical part of the racetrack here. You've got to be committed, you've got to use the curbs, you've got to balance the car on the throttle and the brakes, and this really rewards drivers that have their car set up to be responsive, set up to be aggressive on their tyres. Conversely, if you do that, you start to lose out on the faster back section of the racetrack, and Bauer is balancing that fine line in his pursuit of Roscoe ahead to try and take away that 13th place.
Yeah, we certainly are, and someone that has got a mixture of other paint colours up the side of his car. It's Chris Warner after that turn 1. He saw himself down in the 20s, but he's working his way back up. He's putting pressure on that Kazlaksky driver in the 919 Ferrari. Obviously, he's going to pick up that position. He's going to pick up that position due to the penalty, but wants to get as much recovery as he possibly can. I mean, it could still be on. We've seen bigger things happen. It could still be on. He's definitely got the pace to work his way back up the order, and maybe even look to get involved with Bauer and Russo and Sarossi. We saw those guys. You can see them all there on the start-finish straight. They're all within eye shot of Chris Warner getting himself back up, as we see Jones also picking up a 5-second penalty. So Chris Warner in a very dangerous sandwich with 2 drivers around him that have picked up penalties throughout the race.
Absolutely, and as you say, Warner was one of those drivers that was involved in the altercation, shall we politely say, on the opening lap. So Warner actually is doing well not to be carrying too significant damage on that Ferrari. It doesn't seem to be impeding his progress any at this moment in time. 17th place on track, but a betting man would certainly have money on that being a little bit further up the road come the checkered flag in 8 minutes 25 seconds time. Sadaka 11th place, car number 16 in the Porsche. Not many Porsches in the field, but we know it's quick because in the hands of Caracas it is currently in 4th position and closing down that little trio at the front of the field. So Sadaka will be keen to improve, and there is Caracas getting sideways over the curb. So difficult to thread the needle through that section of corners, and Caracas now very much on the back foot for the downhill run into the final corner. That Porsche is a tricky car to drive at the best of times, and when you've got the likes of Aidan Walshingham behind you trying every trick in the book to liberate that 4th position from you, it is even harder. And Grantas Caracas doing everything he can to make that the widest 911 in the history of the world. Both drivers using a generous helping of the runoff through that first turn as we break down into the semi-hairpin, I suppose you want to call it, then hard back on the gas. And at this moment in time, the Ferrari looks like a more stable proposition in the hands of Walshingham. But does he have enough pace? And does he have enough opportunity to take that 4th position away? And if he does, can he do it quick enough before the lights of Magnani behind start to get involved and turn this into a three-way battle for position.
Yeah, the thing is as well, with such a short form race, you can't hang around. You need to pick the opportunities. And I mean, Caracas, he's come off the back of a fantastic performance at Bathurst in the SRO at the weekend, and he's going to feel confident going into that race either way. But we saw him grab a little bit too much curb into that lovely sweeping left-hander that we mentioned earlier in qualifying. And I feel that may have been the opportunity that Aiden needed to jump on and try and move himself past Caracas. He has got himself, as we saw on the bonnet cam of the Porsche, it's pretty wide anyway. Oh, he's done it again. He's grabbed way too much of the curb, and I think Aiden's just trying to eye him up now and force him into as many mistakes as he possibly can.
Yep, so a word of note for the 0.1% of us watching this broadcast that have the ability and means to own a Porsche: stay away from curbs. It does not like curbs. And now Caracas is massively under pressure. He recognises the danger, immediately goes hard to the inside. That allows Walsingham to get the premium outside line. He's going to try and cut back to the inside if at all possible, but Caracas makes that car as wide as he possibly can, covers off that opportunity for Walsingham. Now has to stay behind, has to follow in the wheel tracks of Caracas in front, but he knows the pressure is on Caracas now in a defensive posture, and this is going to hold him up even further. And while these two are squabbling, Magnoni behind and also Gert Fischer are starting to get involved as well. This has got to be pull the pin time for Aidan Walsingham. He has got to make this move stick, and he's got to make it stick very, very quickly indeed. Otherwise, he's going to be the one doing the defending, and Caracas is going to be the one that has a little bit of breathing room, but he's driving on the edge in this number 19 car, and he cannot afford, Dan, to keep up this level of risk. Otherwise, this one's going to end very badly indeed.
Yeah, I mean, definitely agree with that. So, I mean, we see Aiden now coming up to what we, by the looks of it, is Grantis' problem corner. Looking through that entire lap, he was fine, but he's caught the inside again. Oh, it's a lot smoother going through there. A lot less body roll coming off of the curb on the left-hand side, and manages to keep that power down. And we see that, yeah, the door just isn't there for Aiden to come around and kick straight through. But, as we mentioned, that Grantis running all the way out, using as much of the runoff as he dare on the right-hand side. And it's just, again, just going to light up the eyes of the cars behind him.
Yeah, it really is. That Porsche does not look comfortable at this moment in time, and Walsingham just showing his nose to the inside. That's not a real passing opportunity, but it's all about scaring Caracas off of the racing line. And it's worked because Caracas immediately goes defensive. A little bit of a kiss between the two cars as well, but Caracas now is going to be compromised all the way through this next section of corners. Walsingham, he's not looking to pass now. He's looking to set the overtake up several corners down the road. He's trying everything he can to force Caracas onto suboptimal lines to make that balance of the car. It looks a little bit understeer rate, but also a little bit oversteer rate on corner exit as well. So this is a great opportunity for Walsingham. Looks much more comfortable at this stage in proceedings, but Caracas somehow is managing to hold on to that fourth position, and now things are really spicing up because the likes of Magnani and Fischer are also in this fight. So Walsingham needs to look through his windshield, but also have a very firm eye on that rear view mirror, because there's a bright green Lamborghini thinking, you boys are having fun. I think I'll have a go at this as well, because this looks like a nice way to spend an afternoon here at Monday in the Next Level Racing GT3 Cup.
He's done it again. As Grantis really needs to sort out what's doing out of the car, and Aiden now got his nose ahead, but Grantis has got that really important real estate. Gets the switchback done though, and Aiden Wallisham moves himself up into fourth place. But it's now going to be the battle of the engines as we come down the start-finish straight.
Yeah, so the Porsche are on the recovery now. Can he fight back? Immediately, Caracas is to the outside line. He's trying to get the swoop through the corner to get back to the inside, but much like 2 or 3 laps ago, Walsingham keeps that inside line covered, doesn't give Caracas an opportunity to place his car exactly where he needs it to be, and Walsingham to the inside line again, still neat through the corner, gets the deal done, and now it is a case of, has Grantis Caracas got enough left in the tank? Does he have enough confidence in the car underneath him to match the times and match the cornering capability of that number 9 Ferrari? I don't think he will have. If anything, I think Caracas may start to drop into that little battle pack that's behind, currently headed by Magnani, but that's great driving from the number 9 machine. Aidan doing a really good job to work that over a number of laps to pressure Caracas into a mistake, and the end result is 4th position is now his, and he needs to run with that one and start to build a gap with these final few minutes.
Yeah, he certainly can. And the whole time that those two are battling out, we had the Lamborghini of Magnini and the BMW of Fisher side by side in pretty much a equilibrium with the things that was going on in front of them. And at the end of that settles that the only change of position we have is Aidan with Caracas for 4th and 5th. And Gert Fisher, you've just seen how it's been done. You've just seen how Wallisham's got the job done on Caracas. It's now your turn to get the job done on Magnini. But Magnini, the Porsche having another terrible sector 3. It's just really not liking the curbs and the flow of those last couple of corners.
Yeah, absolutely. You see, Caracas is the car. The balance is not with him. The confidence is not with him at this moment in time. And he's really struggling, as you say, to get through that top part of the racetrack. And if anything, yes, it's losing your time, but that's actually flirting a little bit too close towards a retirement situation, because he's going to be off the racetrack and very quickly into the wall if he's not too careful. So he really needs to rein that in now, and maybe almost, Dan, it gets to the point where he needs to start thinking about, do I actually want to drop back a little bit more and get a better slot for Bathurst? It's starting to fall away from him now a little bit, this one in Valencia.
Yeah, it certainly has. I mean, with 1 minute left at the top, we've seen Miato has run away with it. He's got a nice substantial 4-second gap from Papin. Stapleford behind Papin with about half a second. Then we've got this battle pack that, I mean, to be honest, has been on our screen for the entirety of the race, because it's been absolutely on fire between these 4 drivers, Wallisham, Caracas, Magnini and Fisher. And behind it, everything sort of settled out in that remaining top 10 position. We pay points all the way down to top 20 though. So we're going to see quite a lot of drivers pick up points, especially with those with Kozlowski and Jones in 17th and 18th with quite substantial penalties likely for those incidents at the start of the race that are going to probably move them towards the back of the grid. And we see Miato starting the last lap of the race now, and it's going to be between Stapleford and Papin for the 2nd spot on the podium.
Yeah, Andrea Miato, a driver that we've not spoken about much at all, courtesy of her dominant performance, it has to be said, at the front of the field. And quick warning, Dan, funky screen time again.
All right, there you go.
Thank you very much, sir. Much appreciated. Drive-through penalty for Florian Bauer as well, down in 14th position. So that's a real shame. Towards the end of this race, Bauer's day is done pretty much as far as the Circuit Ricardo Tomo goes. But let's have a look now. Robbie Stapleford still watching, still marking, still pushing, as you can see, as he gets a little bit of a kiss to the gravel on the exit of the turn. But that's no real problem for Stapleford. And 3rd position's not a bad day's work. I don't think he'll be quite satisfied with that as an opening throw the dice.
Yeah, he certainly will. I think if you go away happy, head still in contention. That's why we've only got the top 10 reversed instead of the entire grid, because we're seeing obviously that mixture of abilities in the entire grid. But these guys will still be in with a fight at Bathurst as well, starting from 10th, 9th and 8th respectively for the top 3 drivers. And as you mentioned, Miato not really had much screen time, to be fair to him, but like most leaders that end up running away in a 20-minute race, he's just got his head down and cracked on. I can see as well he set a new race lap record as well here at Valencia, so he's going to have that to his name as Miato giving a bit of left and right as he comes across the start-finish line. And in the background, what we also didn't catch is that Fisher has got past Magnini on the last lap as well to take away that 6th position. So those are going to be reversed for the top 10. But Bauer, Kozlowski and Jones all picking up penalties, which are going to drop them straight to the back of the order.
Fantastic stuff. So a great victory for Andrea Minato at the front of the field, dominating from light to checkered flag in this opening race of the weekend. We've got Papin in 2nd position and Stapleford are hard racing, if not necessarily as close as they would like to have been to the leader, round out our podium positions. And as you say, Walshingham eventually, after much work, commandeers that 4th place and takes it to the line. We're looking at Dowen Stale now at this moment in 20th position, close as you like for that little fight between himself and Holm just behind, but Stale manages to keep it to the line and takes the final point in 20th place, a hard-earned result indeed for the Ferrari driver. A few warnings, a little bit of work to do for our stewards, funky screen, a little bit work for our stewards to do, but these are
the points will come up in a second.
Thank you very much.
So,
this is the difficult time for the drivers now, isn't it? So they're going to furiously be scribbling away themselves, working out what the points are, trying to decompress from that opening race, understand what they've learned, what advantages that they can take from that one into the next race, and then do it all again at Bathurst in a few minutes' time. And with a reverse grid, and Bathurst is not the easiest track in the whole wide world, so big challenge time.
Yeah, it certainly is. So what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen that are tuning in at home, is we're going to have a short break. We're going to jump back to the countdown screen, just go a short break while we get everything set and ready to go for race 2. Give the stewards opportunity to go through those penalties, and we'll be back with you in roughly a five or so minutes time, and we'll take you through into Bathurst for race number 2.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Next Level Racing GT3 Cup, the grand final race event, and these are our standings after the first of 3 races that will be taking place this evening to crown our overall champion. We've raced at the Circuit Ricardo Tomo, also known, more commonly known as Valencia, and Andrea Miato is our championship leader from Remy Papin and Robbie Stapleford round out our 3 top drivers. We score points down to 20th position, starting with 30 points, ending with a singular point for 20th place. And these drivers know they need the big results. But as we said during the live broadcast, if you finish in the top 10 for race 1, that's going to get reversed for race 2. So Sebastian Apostle is the man that will be starting Bathurst in pole position. He may only have 11 points, placed 30 on the board, but he is in, Dan Terry, the pound seats for this next race.
Yeah, he certainly is. I mean, we saw him go tooth and nail through the first race there at Valencia, but ultimately, as we mentioned during qualifying, it's where you start switching your brain on and realise maybe I can't go any further forward, and now it starts to look good, solidifying where I'm going to be on the grid for race number 2. So the grid order, just to run through it, we are jumping into the server at the moment, and they're just in a short practice session that we'll jump onto and show you the screen shortly, so you can see how they're getting on. Is Sebastian Apostle going to be starting on pole with Pavel Schutztin next to alongside him in the Ferrari 296. Artem Manisha in third alongside Lorenzo Magnini. Had his hands full with Gert Fischer throughout the second half of that race at Valencia, and again he's going to be now starting ahead of him because Gert managed to get above him coming into the end of that race. Then we move into Grantis Caracas, Aidan Wallisham, Robbie Stapleford, Remy Papin, and then the chap that's sitting at the top of the tree in Andrea Miato in starting the race in 10th number place.
And of course, the first corner at Bathurst is called Hell Corner. There's a reason for that one, because it is a nightmare to find your way through most times, but in particular on the opening laps. If you're the likes of Andrea Miato, you've got to be very, very careful indeed to not get wrapped up in an incident just like we saw on the opening lap
that actually I've been muted the whole time that we've been talking through that, Paul, as my amazing broadcast skills will show off that I got a message from one of our staff behind the scenes going, no one can hear what you're saying. So I done a brilliant. No, we'll just have to leave that. Well, that was a test run of in history of how amazing all the prize bundle is. So we'll go through it again really quickly. You guys have all been listening to Robbie Stapleford drive his G2 Esports Lamborghini along the mountain. So I'll tell you what, all full credit to the guys that do this as a regular full-time profession and can work all the buttons out. I thought I had it all sorted out, but turns out I didn't. So we'll go through the prizes once again.
The pressure of live broadcast, my friend.
It is great fun. It was last minute with a few changes that we had behind the scenes, but yeah, it's all good now, and we're all. Those that know me will know that we muscle through it. So if it's not names that we're getting wrong, it's small errors in bits and pieces. But yeah, first place overall then will take home a GT Elite Wheel Plate Edition with an ERS2 seat and a merch pack from Next Level Racing. So one of those amazing rigs that you saw in the ad break as we came back off the stream. They're also going to get to take home a first place trophy for themselves as well. The second place overall is going to get to take home an FGT rig, as well as a merch pack, and we're going to kit them out of a second place trophy as well to show that they've made such a substantial effort tonight across all 3 races. Third place overall is going to take home a HF8 gaming pad, which the chat wouldn't have heard, but they're going to hear from Paul Jeffrey shortly about how amazing that product is, because he absolutely adores it and has been chewing my ear off about it as we've gone through before the broadcast today, as well as a third place trophy. There's also going to be a prize for a driver that's taking part in the final. As you'll know, if you've taken part in the competition, or quite a fair share of the competitions we run on Sim Racing GP, we do also give prizes just for taking part and participating in the events as well. So one of the 32 drivers this evening, chosen at random, that completes in all 3 of the races, will take themselves home a HF8 gaming pad, courtesy of the amazing guys at Next Level Racing. But that is not it, Paul. And now the chat can actually hear what I was saying. There's going to be an opportunity for the guys at home to take home some prizes. If you're watching at home, sat on your sofa, in your pants, maybe beer in hand, watching the amazing racing that's on track, you are going to have the opportunity later on at Cota to potentially take home a GT Elite Light rig as well, just for tuning in and getting involved with the chat. So keep an eye out for when we bring that, and that'll be during the Circuit of America's race later on this evening after we've been at Bathurst. But yeah, we got there in the end.
Very nice. Very nicely done, sir. And it is great, by the way. So big thank you to Next Level Racing for obviously putting this event on for us and offering some great prizes. And please do get involved in the chat. We're on the Next Level Racing YouTube channel, on their socials as well, on Facebook, on their Twitch channel, and also on their TikTok channel. So please do get involved in the broadcast. Drop us your comments. I'm keeping my phone open to have a look at the YouTube comments. So if you've got any questions or you want a shout out, let us know in there and we'll try our very best. But before we get into action, this is only free practice, which is why we're not talking about what's going off on screen. So don't worry too much about it. I do want to talk about that HF8. I struggle to say that so badly. HF8 gaming pad. Now, full disclosure, I'm doing this for simracing.gp, so I am not contractually obliged to say nice things about Next Level Racing. This is not a case of they're paying me, so I've got to say something. This is purely as a long-time sim racer. I bought the HF8 gaming pad. Well, I'm not very good with dates, but pretty much as soon as it came out. I'm a big fan of tactile immersion. I'm a big fan of adding quote-unquote unnecessary things to my rig. And I've got a couple of rigs, and the GT version, I bought the pad, put it on the rig. Pretty cost-effective piece of gear. I forgot how much it was now. I think it was just under 200 quid. So, frankly, expectations weren't hugely high, but I was curious to see how it went. As I was saying to Dan off air, and again, caveat this, I am not contractually obliged to say nice things. I will, out of all the things I've got on my rig, and mark my words, I have a lot of things on my rig, I will put the HF8 up there as an absolute essential piece of kit. Absolutely sensational. I will be strictly honest. I would like a little bit more oomph, a little bit more power from the kickers, but it is brilliant. The immersive factor, you can run it through the native software that comes with it that's free. You get a little scanning code and you can download the Next Level Racing, or you can run it through SimHub just to keep things clean. I run all my programs through SimHub, so I've used that bit of software. Infinitely tunable. It's got the kickers in the top near the shoulders, in the middle of your back, in the base of your back, and then in your bum and the top of your thighs as well. So you've got 1,000,001 different combinations that you can have. And the immersion factor, it almost feels like if I forget to turn it on and I start going out on track, it's almost like the engine's not running. It gives me so much additional feedback. So some of it's useful for driving, so like you can feel the bumps in the road. I've got it set to where I can feel the curbs, or I particularly like a kick when I'm shifting through gears. But it's the immersive factor. It is just an element for a very cost-effective amount of money that uplifts the experience. For me personally, your mileage, of course, may vary, that uplifts the experience significantly. And I would, with 1,000% confidence, recommend this to anybody that asks me, what do you think of this piece of gear? It is incredibly well done, lovely quality, nice pleather type material, looks the business in my bucket seat, nice and comfortable to sit on as well. They've balanced somehow of having little kicker motors on your backside, but somehow you can't feel them in an uncomfortable kind of way, which in some other products perhaps it's a little bit more prominent, the sticking into your bits and bobs, but not the case with this one. So for me, genuinely, it is a top piece of gear. So I doff my virtual cap to the lads and lasses at Next Level Racing for this little invention. It is brilliant, and I would if I was to reset up a brand new rig again, that would be absolutely top of the list of things to acquire and install. Tremendous piece of tackle. So if you're on the fence, folks at home, get off that fence, get your wallet out and go buy one, because they're wicked. Or engage in our chat and maybe you can win one, which is even better.
I was about to say, I'll tell you what, we've not just got the Elite rig to give away this evening, we have also got one of those gaming pads. So after that fantastic review from Paul, what we'll do is right now across the Twitch, YouTube and Facebook chats, if you type in the chat !giveaway, one of our team will select one of you at random and you will get yourself a chance to take home a HF8 gaming pad just for sitting at home and tuning into the stream. So !giveaway in the chats will enter you in for a chance of a giveaway. We'll keep it open until the drivers complete their first lap, and then we'll draw a person at random and you'll be contacted by one of our team here at Sim Racing GP over the next 24 hours to give your prize. So !giveaway in the chat. If you're also someone that is residing in America and wants to get your hand on some next level quality, next
I'll second that one. I'm afraid you're not having a good time with this mic today, Dan.
I really am not having a good time with the microphone. It's a mixture of last minute dropouts and working out what was going on meant that I'm here, but it's all going to work out in the end. We're going to have some fun.
That is a quality comment, though, from Daniel Birch. So credit to you, sir, for the humour of the day. I do enjoy a little comment like that. So well played, and yeah, great stuff from Next Level Racing. Keep those giveaways coming on the chat. I'm seeing plenty flowing in. So best of luck to each and every one of you. But Dan, to answer your question, sir, the big thing I want to answer on. Get an answer from in this one is, will everybody get through that first lap cleanly? Because we've seen it so many times at Bathurst. T1, Hell Corner, very, very challenging. But then as you get up past into the mountain and through the S's and down Skyline, etc., it's very easy for a car to strand itself sideways and then cause a whole heap of dramas. And of course, in this race, the top 10 from race 2 are a reverse grid again. So the same kind of jeopardy and excitement that we had in race 1 applies to this one too. So there's a bit of strategic driving and strategic thinking needs to be done, as well as our cars are starting to roll away from the line. Very short formation lap through Murray's and then on to the start finish, and away we go. So Apostle is the man in pole position from Schutzkin. It's a BMW versus a Ferrari for the run down into the first corner. Will we have a clean fight as we are getting ready to go racing for the Next Level Racing GT3 Cup Grand Final, race number 2 here from the Mount Panorama Circuit in Bathurst. So that is a good start for Apostle. Immediately over to the outside line, but there's a sneaky move down the inside, and that is in car number 2, bit of contact further down the running order as well. One of the Lamborghinis in strife in the outside wall. He spins the car back onto the racetrack again and just about gets away with that one, but he's got a lot of work to do. Walshingham that we're looking at in the Sim Sports Fifth Grill machine. Car number 5 around the outside of Quarry Bend. Look out for the wall on corner exit. It pops out at you very quickly indeed, but everybody's managing to navigate their way through the run up the hill. Andrea Miato, race 1 winner, is still lower reaches of the top. And a bit of drama in front of him. Can he navigate his way past the Ferrari? No, he cannot. In fact, he's vulnerable to Warner, and Warner sneaks through as well.
Yeah, Warner having to make that recovery. He was involved in the Turn 1 incident at Valencia, which sent him back down the order. He made a charging effort to get himself up into 15th, and it was Magnini on the first corner that we saw get a little bit surprised, I think, by Manisha being so aggressive into Turn 1. Yeah. He saw the opportunity down the side of Gert Fischer and thought, I'll have a bit of this. The door's open. I'm going straight through it. And Magnini was just sort of left there to pick up the rest of the pieces. Ended himself being all the way round. And one of those that massively gained from that was Warner. He saw the opportunity and he managed to jump all the way up from 15th and find himself in 9th. Andrea Miato, the winner of race number 1, finds himself down in 10th. But the guys have all filtered themselves through, and Sebastian Apostle, that started on pole position, is down in 4th as we head into the bottom of the hill for the first time.
And such is the danger of these short form racers, the likes of Sebastian Apostle, very cautious in the opening few laps, wants to make sure he gets to the checkered flag, but that is costing DLA 4th position at this moment in time. Caracas, that we see down in 6th, has a 10-second time penalty attached to his name, so he's going to plummet down the running order once the checkered flag is waved in 17 minutes and 51 seconds. Caracas, it would be fair to say, is one of those drivers that many would have had a very, very close eye on coming into this competition as a potential overall champion, but his job has just become much more difficult indeed. There is Chris Warner in the beautifully liveried Ferrari that we see on the run up to the hill, coming in to Quarry Bend for the second time. Warner has a very unenviable sight of the rear of the 930 ahead. That is Schutzin is the next man on the list, and behind him, Andrea Miato, our race 1 winner, was 9th, now 10th, but hungry to move forward if he possibly can. Miato, remember, is in the prime spot for the reverse grid for race 3, so maybe he's going to have a first, a 10th and a first again. We'll find out, but Miato will want those points, will not be hedging his bets for the qualifying position for the next race. He wants the points here and now and to consolidate that early championship lead he has in this very short 3-round competition.
Yeah, we certainly will. So I'm not too sure what Caracas picked up the penalty for. I'm going to have a little look at how our stewards are getting on and how they've managed to reach that decision. But he does find himself up in 6th position. I'll be honest, I feel that he might be able to gap away from that. I mean, he's only got 1.3 seconds after 2 laps on the field behind. And, I mean, dominant performance at SRO at the 12 hours at the weekend and knows this track like the back of his hand. I'm comfortable that he might be able to shake off a lot of damage from that incident as we go throughout the race. But so far as we head into, again, the bottom of the hill, turns out I always end up getting that little section. The one corner that I can't remember the name of, even though it's probably one of the most famous corners in the track. I'll probably get it confused with something else and just embarrass myself. And we're going to start to see what sort of lap times these guys are chucking in as we've got a yellow flag for number 16 at the back of the pack. And that is Venturi falling down the order, involved a little bit with Alexander Reutz, I believe, in the 1, 2, 3. But it's all tightening up at the top, and Sebastian Apostel, pole sitter for race number 2, puts in the fastest lap of the race so far at a 2-minute 3:40. We have got a lap record that we're trying to beat, which is very, very close to it, which is a 2-minute 3:82 set by Matthias Kuhn in a Honda NSX Evo a little while ago on Sim Racing GP. So we'll see if any of these drivers can throw down. And Sebastian Apostel actually picks himself up a 5-second penalty, and I can only assume that's to do with Magnini going round at turn 1, Paul.
Right, this is very interesting as well. So yeah, hopefully we'll find out a little bit from race control exactly what that is for. But that's a big change at the front of the field. But what is very interesting is Benicia does not have the pace at this stage in the race. He's the one that is the cork in the bottle, and the likes of Gert Fischer in the BMW seems to be very competitive indeed. At the start of the lap, we saw Fischer having a little sniff around the rear of that number 2 Ferrari, interested to find a way. The BMW is a big car, the Ferrari is a big car, Bathurst is a very small circuit indeed, so overtaking is going to be difficult. But Gert Fischer now in the pound seats to find a way past Walshingham as well, just biding his time, keeping a watching brief in the second of the 2 Ferraris in the top 4. Walshingham had a lively race last time around. He's keen to get a big score, but he thinks there might be an opportunity to hand to move himself further up the finishing positions for this one, score himself some big points and keep himself in contention as we see Manisha going very defensive indeed as we run through the chase, and that's going to compromise him for the run down in a Murray's Corner, the final turn of this lap here at the Bathurst circuit, the Mount Panorama circuit in Australia. And Manisha needs to be very cautious to not defend too hard, because that will bring the chasing pack as Fischer runs a couple of wheels onto the grass. That's compromising his own line, and Walshingham went from a watching brief to suddenly it's alert time. Now is the time for Aidan Walshingham to find a way past and see if he can get second position for the run up the mountain straight into Quarry Bend. Quarry is a difficult ask to make an overtake, but Fischer goes to the inside anyway, covers off the eventuality. Walshingham, the last of the late breakers to the inside, doesn't have enough of an overlap, manages to nip the car back behind the BMW. Clever there from Aidan not to force an issue that was a bit too big of an ask, and Apostle now thinks, 5-second penalty, 2 cars in front of me. Yeah, let's have a good time. 30 minutes on the clock. Plenty can happen.
Yeah, it certainly can. And just some clarity on those penalties. So Caracas picks up the penalty for spinning around Magnini off of the start. And Apostles was actually, we call it the back of it on the first lap. We saw a slow Ferrari, and that was Pavel Schutzin, who started quite high up in the order due to the reverse grid. He got a nudge into the wall from Apostle, which Miato ended up getting a little bit caught up in with his battle with Chris Warner, who grabbed that position on the first lap. And that was all due to that wide BMW of Apostle as we hit the single file mountain area. And we're going to have to see where these penalties end up. The penalties were quite far down the order earlier on, and they didn't really mix in with the top 10 guys in the reverse grid as we head to the Circuit of the Americas after this race. But we're going to see what the reminiscence is. And one thing I will mention, by the way, is a few drivers in the pits, and one of those is Robbie Stapleford in the 81 G2 Esports Lamborghini. Not too sure what happened with him. He started in 8th position, but sees himself in the pits after a couple of laps. And someone that is on the charge then is Chris Warner, desperate to get a recovery as best as he possibly can from the issues that he found at Valencia, and put himself back up the order. And I think if he can pick up a solid performance here and a solid performance at Cota, and he will be a bit of a shout with that, especially with that top 3 places that we've got prizes for overall.
Yeah, absolutely. Warner doing a very solid job in the triple one car, 7th position. But don't forget, Caracas ahead has a 10-second time penalty. So Warner, it's almost as much a race against the clock as it is against your immediate rivals. There's a nice bit of air between Warner and Papin up in 6th position, 3.5 seconds just over. So this is Chris's opportunity to get the pedal to the metal. We're looking back though now, and that is Miato getting the deal done for the run into Quarry. So good overtaking manoeuvre there. Miato on Sorose, so very brightly coloured Italian sports cars, but Andrea Miato is the man that takes the advantage, and that moves him up into 8th position. Remember, Miato won our first race, so takes 30 points for good measure. 13 are on for play at this moment in time, but I don't think the Italian Andrea Miato has quite done yet with his charge through the field. And as we say, Caracas has a 10-second penalty as well, so maybe he's going to fall into the sort of range of these drivers as we go on. 20-second penalty for Magnani as well in 25th position and pit lane, so Magnani's day is done. Here at Bathurst, we ride on board with Florian Bauer as we come down the hill now. This is into the twisted, the tricky mountain section. You want to be brave, you want to get as close to the walls as you possibly can, but you're losing a little downforce following so closely the car in front. And Dan, it is so hard, so easy, in scenarios like that one to kind of get sucked in to what the car in front's doing, lose your rhythm, and before you know it, you're saying hello to a concrete barrier, which does not play well with virtual carbon fibre.
No, it definitely doesn't. I mean, there are quite a lot that transfer between real and virtual racing, and but the horribility, is that a word? We're going to call it a word. At the top of the mountain at Bathurst is one of those, and Florian Bauer then looks to get himself a nose ahead of Sudakar and just gets caught up with him and Schotnin's the number 7 Ferrari, and ends himself up in the grass. But that couldn't work out if it was the actual livery for that Visceral Racing Ferrari, or if it's just had a lot of batter and bruises up the side of it. And I think looking at that is a lot of battered and bruises. Another new driver to jump on board. We've not seen much of this person, Alex Cascat. Why do I pick the ones with the really weird names, Paul? They've probably not got weird names. It's just I can barely speak English, so it just happens that I struggle with anything other than that. But Alex looking to move himself past Ceruzzi, and does so he's up to 9th place, and is still going to see him on the front row as we head into Cota if it stays the same. But there was a really slow car, I think it might have been someone a lap down actually, on the inside. I'm just trying to work out who that was. It was one of the black and yellow Ferrari behind was very, very slow, and I actually think it might have been one of the drivers that are lower down. Oh yeah, it was number 77 of Stel.
Yeah, so that was one of the drivers, like you say, getting out of the way under blue flag conditions. But that's a great overtake from Alex there. Very brave on the brakes, really trusting his rival Sorose that they're going to give each other racing room, and so they do. So that's a good manoeuvre for 9th and 10th position. Of course, that puts Sorose in the prime seats for their pole position at the Circuit of the Americas. It comes up straight after this race in about 8.5 minutes time when the checker flag falls on this one. Sebastian Apostel in the BMW, the West Competition Racing car number 1 that we're riding on board with now. Still can't do anything about the cars ahead. So Walsingham doing great work in the number 5 Ferrari himself, really scrabbling all over the rear of Gert Fischer's BMW, and Manisha at the front of the field just holding on as well. But these cars very much in a knife edge. Look through the windshield, you saw Manisha going defensive into Murray's, and that's going to compromise him on corner exit. But Fischer has to back out as well as they get the accordion effect. Backs up Gert Fischer. Walsingham now has an opportunity as well. Apostle a little bit further back will just be keeping an eye on what's happening here, trying to jockey himself into a bit of clean air. He'll be hoping, will Apostle, that these three hold themselves up, and that will present an easy overtaking opportunity, potentially under acceleration, because an overtake here on the brakes is a very risky business, and 4th isn't ideal for Apostle, but it's far better than watching the field pass as you're buried into the barriers.
Yeah, he certainly can. He needs to have a think about attack versus defence. He needs to get further ahead, obviously, to get that 5-second clear. I think at the moment he's only going to drop down to, I believe, just behind Papin in front of Warner. There's a 3.2 second gap to Warner, and the rest of it's sort of accumulated upwards. So he's still looking himself sitting pretty if he for the reverse grid. But I was also going to mention that he did set a lap record, and then Andrea Miato on the last lap went out ahead and beat it. So we have set a new race lap record on SGP. Andrea Miato with a 2 minutes and 0.275 as well. So taking over Matthias Kuhn in the Honda NSX Evo, we've set a new lap record in that Lamborghini Huracan Evo 2. And we've not got much time to brief, but thoughts on any of the new cars? Any ones in particular that you're rather enjoying, Paul?
Sadly, if time was wealth, then I am a very poor man. So I haven't had much chance to give any of these cars a run. But Acero Corsa Competizione, Kunos Simulazione know how to make quality content both in tracks and cars. So I am sure once I have the opportunity to dive in and get under the skin, I'll be just as impressed as I am with the entirety of the field, because ACC really is turning out to be a golden racing simulation, and of a golden era, it has to be said, in GT3 racing. The work that the Stefan Rattel organisation, SRO, have done in the world of GT3 racing to bring it to the level globally that it's at now is sensational to see, and it's great to see that esports very much enjoying that benefit as well and going through a bit of a purple patch, it has to be said, with competitions like this and like the official SRO category and many others beside. It's a great time to be a fan of all things pretend racing cars.
Yeah, exactly. There's literally things to watch every evening, every weekend, whether it be out on the real track. I know, as you mentioned, you're heading to Paul Ricard in a couple of weeks' time for the next round of the GT World Challenge endurance calendar. But then you also got all the virtual stuff that goes on there as well. And we had a little bit of a change around between Fisher and Wallingsham towards the end of the of lap 6, but they seem to have put themselves back around again. And these guys are just forming somewhat of a battle track. I think, yeah, coming off the back of where a lot of these drivers took part in the 12-hour endurance race at the weekend, they know the lines, they know the drivers around them, they respect the drivers around them, and they're just trying to find any millimetre they can to sort of put their nose in front, assert dominance on the driver in front. We saw Florian Bauer try and do it a couple of laps ago, and obviously fell foul of a couple of other cars that caught himself, ended up spinning in the grass. But these guys are just on another planet. I mean, they're starting to gap Caracas a little bit here. Caracas still with that 10-second penalty, but they're both they're all the top 6 are stretching away from Chris Warner, who we know has been trying to recover from that incident at Valencia in race number 1, but is putting on a stellar performance in himself as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is a dream for Artem Manisha. While these 3 are all squabbling amongst themselves to decide who's going to finish where on the podium, it gives Manisha a little bit of breathing room, which is desperately important at a track like Bathurst. He can concentrate on his lines, concentrate on his marks, and just try and keep it clean. Try and eke away half a tenth a lap is absolutely fine. A tenth of a second a lap. The levels are so close at the front of the field that that's all that you need to give yourself that comfort blanket that you're not under pressure, that you don't need to defend. And that's exactly what's happening for Artem Manisha. He looked uncomfortable 4 or 5 laps ago, but now the squabble that has sort of unfolded over the last couple of laps has given him that space to move forwards. We're looking at Gert Fischer in 3rd position, the lone BMW in the fight between these 2 Ferraris. The second of the BMWs of Apostle, car number 1, just a few yards further back as well. Not quite in contention to get involved, but still watching, waiting and lurking to see if an opportunity presents itself. But at this moment in time, down with 3 minutes and change left on the clock, all eyes are on Gert Fischer. He looks like the man that's got the biggest opportunity to push forward and find a way past Walshingham ahead.
Yeah, he set that purple lap time, a 2-minute 1:50, and Apostle's trying to hang on as best as he can. I think Apostle, yeah, he did just knock the wall as he came over the top of the hill. Oh, it's all gone wrong for Gert Fischer. Not Gert Fischer, sorry, Sebastian Apostle, his teammate at West Competition Racing. He lost it on the top of Skyline and just donked the wall a little bit. And it just, as you mentioned earlier, I think we saw, was it Caracas following someone following a green Porsche back in the order and copying their line and just got it all wrong. And I think maybe, Apostle trying to bridge that gap to clear his 5-second penalty and just gets a bit overconfident with a couple of laps left to go.
And that's going to cost Apostle. That's going to cost Sebastian Apostle massively. Although he's lost nothing on the racetrack in terms of track position, as you see it happening, he's lost precious time that he can ill afford to give away in that BMW. 5 seconds will be applied to his race time at the checkered flag in 1 minute and 59 seconds time. So he needs to gap. He knows Caracas behind's no threat. Caracas has his own time penalty that he's carrying into this race. But other people, Papin, Warner, Miato, etc., are all very much in that window to gain advantage. What these two drivers need to do now, Apostle needs to hope and pray that Caracas has got enough racing intelligence to not really think about getting involved, because even just a single defensive manoeuvre is going to hemorrhage lap time to those around. And Apostle now is double paying the price for such a simple and easy mistake to make. And I've got a bad feeling about this one, Dan, because these two are squabbling far too hard for two drivers that need to concentrate purely on outright lap performance.
Yeah, at this point, these guys need to really get their head down and work out what they're gonna do to get the best outcome. I think we are on the last lap. I think Manisha started the last lap of the race there with Aidan Wallisham charging down in that number 5 Visceral Esports Ferrari behind him. Again, setting another purple lap, and we're now into the 59.9s on that. But I think Artem Manisha, if he can hold on to this, I'm going to be well impressed. That move into turn 1 against, I believe it was Apostle, wasn't it, who started himself out on pole, saw the door open, put his foot down, went through it, kept it clean as well. The stewards are nothing to even look at. I don't even think they even made contact. So heads up from both the drivers that were involved in that. But Artem Manisha is going to come out on top by the looks of it, unless Wallisham can get a real run as they come back down off the mountain.
Yep, so Manisha now soaking up all the pressure. As you say, this is going to be the fight into the final few corners. Manisha goes to the inside line, protects the inside line, gets the car stopped in time, touches the apex on both sets of the corner, gives absolutely no opportunity for Walsingham to find a way past. And now Aidan Walsingham, the sting has been taken out of his tail. Now the attack is over, and Artem Manisha, a masterclass of soaking up the pressure, squeals across the line, takes the checkered flag, and with it, the Next Level Racing GT3 Cup race number 2 at Rockingham victory, and the full haul of points. Outstanding drive from Artem Manisha at the front of the field. Jimmy Holm trying to make moves as well, down in 14th position, but he's just running out of real estate to get that one done, and crosses the line just behind Kaczynski ahead of him. So wow, that was a fight right to the line, and we don't expect that one very often at this place.
Yeah, it certainly was. It was a real battle as we bring up the points from race 1, as the drivers are just calling themselves off from the end of race number 2. And yeah, I mean, that was 2 for now. But like I say, I think that performance from Manisha was to make the commitment at the turn 1, lap 1, and to keep it solid with that line of and caliber of drivers behind him as well. Was just, absolutely phenomenal, and a great shout out to Artem Manisha, and a stellar performance that's going to net him 30 points and certainly move him up the order as we head over to Circuit of Americas. So, as we mentioned, we're going to head over to the Circuit of Americas. We're going to jump to another short break as we get the server ready and we finalise what that points table looks like, and we'll be back in a few minutes' time to take you into the final round of the final of the Next Level Racing GT3 Cup 2023.
Welcome back to the Next Level Racing GT3 Cup, the grand final day of activity. And these are the standings after 2 of 3 races. And Remiato is the man that leads the championship from Artem Manisha by a single point. A further 2 points in a rear is Remy Papin and Aidan Walshingham in 3rd and 4th position. 4 points separate our top 4 drivers, and the circuit of the Americas is the battleground in which we will go to fight for one final 20-minute race. If that's not enough to get excited about, we've also got you guessed it, another reverse grid. The finishing order from our last race at Bathurst, the top 10 will be reversed, and that will be the starting grid for this final race. Gert Fisher, by the way, 35 points in 5th position, just ahead of Sebastian Apostle on 26 points. There are 30 points for a race victory. So very much there is all still to play for, all the way down even to Robbie Stapleford in 10th position, who had a did not finish last time out at Bathurst. So, Dan, I reckon the scene is set, to quote Murray Walker, for something of a bit of a barnstormer.
It's going to be absolutely bums on edge of seats as we head into the final round at Circuit of Americas. Those that have got eagle ears into the background have just heard that we've just jumped into the server and the drivers are just starting their free practice session. So we'll jump on board with that shortly. But yeah, how close those standings are, and the fact that it could prove pivotal that even after that massive lead that the massive lead that Miato had in race 1, that the winner could be crowned by a fantastic move into turn 1. And we're all sitting there going, races aren't won on turn 1. And he's sitting there rubbing his hands together going, I think FGT rig and seat and merch pack and trophy is, thank you very much, if he has a performance like he did at Bathurst. But he is going to be starting in 10th position as we head into race number 3. And it's going to be all to play for, as you mentioned. And I really look forward to seeing how these drivers handle the fan-picked Circuit of Americas, by the way. There was a social media and Discord poll over the weekends between Barcelona and Circuit of Americas, and I was informed this morning that Circuit of Americas was the one that won. So that's why we're here for. Jump over. As we jump over, and I remember to unmute the microphone so everybody can. Everyone can hear us. I've worked out the button that I've pressed that keeps muting us, so that everyone can now still hear us. We're, as you see, at the sunrise, 7 o'clock in the morning at Circuit of Americas, and it's unfortunately going to remain relatively dry. I'm pretty sure I chucked some wet weather in one of these, but I think they've got quite lucky with the randomness this evening.
I don't think anybody's lucky if they've got to do a grand finale at the Circuit of the Americas. This is a very challenging track, absolutely full of opportunities for things to go wrong. 5.513 kilometres in length, 20 corners. As is the way with modern tracks, they seem to throw far too many corners, it has to be said, into a racetrack. 14 for me is around the sweet spot for a good racetrack. But hey ho, I ain't a circuit designer and I'm not the man that commissions these weird and wonderful things. But Circuit of the Americas, some real big stops, especially down in a T11 and T12 as well. So some good overtaking opportunities. The snake at the start of the lap can be a risky spot in the opening couple of tours when the field is closely compacted together. Of course, the potential greed of turn 1 on an opening lap as well can catch out many a driver. So there's more than its fair share of jeopardy that's been waved at this field of 33 drivers heading into this final race. And I do think this one's going to be a little bit tentative from everybody in the opening couple of laps, Dan, but then it needs to be elbows out time because this is your last chance to shine.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it really is now getting down to the crunch time. We've got 6 minutes left of practice where these guys have just come off a very tight and twisty Bathurst, and they're now getting a lot more runoff to work with, a lot more stricter track limits to work with, as we saw a couple of drivers. I think Florian Bauer was one of those that fell foul to that at Valencia. But I still think a great racetrack in Circuit of Americas, and the people at home thought so as well. But talking of the people at home, Paul, this is going to be one of the greatest segues I've ever done. We've got another giveaway. We have got another giveaway for the people that are sat at home in their pants with a beer, watching us on their telly, on their phone, on their laptops, on their tablets, in planes, in trains, in automobiles, wherever they may be. All you need to do in all of the Twitch, YouTube and Facebook chat is put ! giveaway. And this is for the big one. You're going to be taking home a GT Elite Light rig. So for one of those, we want to see what one of those look like. Head over to the Next Level Racing. Website. And while you're there, if you're in the USA, if you want to buy anything, you can use the code SGP5. And I'm back to back with amazing segues here, by the way. I have noted it in my brain, and it's never going to get any better than this. That you can use the SGP5 giveaway if you are a resident of the USA on the Next Level Racing website. But
type in ! giveaway in the chat. We'll run the giveaway until the end of the first lap, like we did at Bathurst. The winner of the HF8 gaming pad from the giveaway in the at Bathurst was I'm assuming chap, and I'm probably making a.
Hang on, before you do it, Dan, we need to do a drum roll.
Drum roll. Okay, yeah. Well, we've narrowed it down. We've narrowed it down to assuming chap. A drum roll is what's probably coming through my mic anyway, that people can probably hear, was Lucas M in the YouTube chat. So you would have had a message from me in YouTube chat. I am just Dan Terry in the YouTube chat with my Discord information. If you reach out to there and you can claim your HF8 gaming pads, or if you jump into the Next Level Racing Discord server and at DT or SGP DT, we'll get all your details and we'll get that sent off to Next Level Racing and get you your HF8 gaming pads sent out to you. But for now, though, if you type in ! giveaway in the YouTube, Twitch or Facebook chats, you are going to be in a chance for one of us, one of our team, to reach out to you to take home the FGT Light rig that you're going to be able to take home with you this evening. And having used one, I say used one of those, having sat in one of those, I know a colleague and a friend of the show. Carry on with the radio segues, why don't I? Steve has got one at home, and it's an amazing bit of kit, Paul. I don't know if you've had a chance to have a sit down in one of the Next Level GT Elite Light rigs, but they are a fantastic bit of kit.
I did indeed. Many moons ago, it feels like now, but knowing me, it was probably 10 minutes ago, at Steve's house.
We've both shared the same seat there.
We both soiled his equipment, spoiled it. But yeah, great piece of kit. And again, from Next Level Racing, just thank you so much for the generosity that you've shown throughout the course of this competition. In fact, am I right in thinking this is the third running of this series now? So they've been so generous and supportive all the way through the mists of time from the very, very beginning. And it's great to see not just prizes for the drivers, not just prizes for the drivers at the very front of the field, but also for every participant is in with a chance to win something. And for me personally, more important still, for everybody watching at home as well, can hopefully watch an enjoyable broadcast and some great racing, and potentially to have delivered to their very door some very cool sim racing equipment. So big props to Next Level Racing, and thank you for continuing your support and putting on these great events alongside simracing.gp.
Yeah, they do absolutely amazing work. I mean, continuously, we're talking a little bit about innovation for something other than that behind the scenes when we're on our short little ad break there, but they are just continuing to come out with great products suited not just for the sim racing world, but their flight simulator side of things. They're moving into the sort of first-person shooter genre, especially with that HF8 gaming pad and some other bits and pieces that they've got coming along. So, yeah, I mean, you're here on the Next Level Racing Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook channels. Get on board with their Twitter. Go and give them a follow. Give a like to the stream, a share to all the social media stuff, and just keep an eye on what's coming up. They do amazing stuff with partners such as ourselves and themselves. In terms of the competition they run across iRacing, and I know they're going to be doing some Call of Duty stuff for the guys out in Australia soon as well. So yeah, fantastic, absolutely amazing company to get behind. And like I say, if you are in the USA, you can use the code SGP5, and it will get you a nice little 5% giveaway if you're in the USA of anything you buy off of their website. But a minute and 10 to go in free practice, and I'm just gonna give for those that are tuning in
now a little update on the standings as we transition into the race. And we see here, Andrea Miato drove away from the pack in that Ractum Racing Esports by Kulash Lamborghini at race 1, but then got stuck behind Chris Warner, who was making a recovery drive from a couple of incidents in the first race. And Artem Manisha did an absolute masterclass. I would argue overtaker of the series so far on lap 1, turn 1 at Bathurst to get his way past those big beefy BMWs and then hold out for the 20-minute race to take the checkered flag and put himself just 1 point behind Andrea Miato as we head into Circuit of Americas. But that reverse grid is going to play dividends. Artem Manisha is going to start in 10th with Andrea Miato starting, I believe, in 4th or 5th as we go just about to head onto the grid for Circuit of Americas, Paul.
Yep, and then you see interesting Remy Papin as well, a driver we've not spoken about a great deal in length of the course of this broadcast. Consistent, 24 points for race 1, 17 for race 2. Third in the standings, a couple of points away from the top. So in a closely fought competition like this over a very short period of time, often those that come away with the biggest prizes are not the headline grabbers. It's those that are consistent, that hoover up the points, that make no mistakes, that stay out of trouble. And that is exactly what Remy Papin, and also to a point, Aidan Walshingham as well, have both done for these first couple of races, scoring big, staying in and around the sharp end of the grid for each respective race will give them the best opportunity to move forward, score big points. Because let's be frank, the first 2 races were filler. The first 2 races were just to build us to the point that we're at here and now, because this is where it matters. The Circuit of the Americas is the venue. The third and final race of the Next Level Racing GT3 Cup final event is here, and whoever gets to the front and does the best job and outscores their rivals will be crowned our winner. And that's exactly what we like to see. A great way to end. 2 points separating 4 drivers.
Yeah, it's going to be an absolutely fantastic last 20 minutes here at Circuit of Americas. If you have been with us throughout the entire competition so far, remember you do have a chance of taking home that GT Elite rig by typing ¡! Giveaway in the chat, and our team will pick a random person at random. Obviously, that makes sense. To
take home a GT Elite rig. So you've got until the end of the first lap to go ahead and do that.
We are onto the grid, so it's yeah, we're going to unmute the microphones again. Trying to do last minute changes, guys. It doesn't always work.
It's all good. Yeah, it's going smooth as butter, sir. Smooth. The racing's been good, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, the racing's been top quality, which is really helpful. But yeah, ! Giveaway in the chat, and that will give you a chance to take home some amazing Next Level Racing prizes. But here we are, final round, fan selected Circuit of Americas. It's sunrise, the sun's going to be in their eyes a little bit around the track. Luckily, it's nice and dry for them. Everyone knows me by now. I love to chuck a bit of water on the track whenever I get the opportunity to. But luckily, they've all dodged a bullet in every single race so far. Every single race has had a chance of rain, and it's all been nice and dry for them. So yeah, we're going to be here for the final round of Circuit of Americas. And Paul, what are we hoping for? Who's your money on to take home the first place trophy here for the Next Level Racing GT3 Cup 2023? Get your money out, put it on the table. Who's it going on out of those 4 that are separated by 3 points?
I've got to say, if you look at the lineup of this grid and you see Andrea Miato in 4th position, the head of the Lamborghini contingent, a driver that was just so dominant in the opening race, it's going to be very difficult to look much further than the Italian driver. But again, flip that on its head. We've got a very difficult run up to T1 and a very risky braking point. And you got the likes of Papin in 7th on the grid that's made a living out of staying out of trouble so far during this championship. I can quite easily see that 7th turning into a 3rd or 4th by the exit of the first corner. So honestly, we said there's 4 drivers separated by 2 points, Dan, and genuinely, I'm not saying this to hype things up, any 4 of those, in fact, anybody from top 10, but realistically, any 4 of those can take this trophy home.
Yeah, it certainly can. I think it's going to be down to that run into the first corner, and I think that honestly, the spanner in the works here, his name's come up a lot, and he's still in with a shot, is Chris Warner. Not only because he's the only livery that seemed to work when we synced all the liveries earlier on, but he's got it all to play for. He's not in that top 4, but all of the other drivers that are in with a shout are surrounding him. And who's he going to support? Is he going to go deep and potentially catch the back of Miato into turn 1? Is he going to be a bit hesitant, and Papin and Fisher and Wallisham might not realise how hesitant he's been going up into the first corner, and that could cause a few issues. But here we go then, Paul. We'll hand over to you to the start of race number 3.
We have questions, and folks at home, we're about to receive the answers for the final time this evening. The Next Level Racing GT3 Cup Final round of the championship, the last race of 3 at the Circuit of the Americas is about to begin. The green lights will be waving, and leading us away will be Gabo Sarose at the front of the field. Grantas Caracas gets a good start immediately to the inside. Hard to defend from the Ferrari driver. Around the outside is that man, Andrea Miato. He needs to avoid any kind of strife. He's in the danger zone, but will that pay off for him? Will that pay him a 3rd position at the conclusion of the T1 complex? Yes, it does. Miato puts himself into premium seats in order to win this championship. 3rd position, Apostle behind in the BMW, just holding off a sea of hungry GT3 drivers. But Andre Miato, he knew what he wanted to do. He pulled the pin, and in the first few corners at the very least, he is delivered to put himself into a prime position for this championship charge.
He certainly has. I know the important thing to note as well is all of the title contenders made it through. There was an incident, I believe, with the P8 car of Alex Castacal, and a name we didn't think we'd be bringing up of having such a shocking evening this evening. Robbie Stapleford, again, involved in an incident and is fallen all the way down to the back. But the title contenders have made it through, and Andrea Miato is in, well, not just the points-paying position, but the prize-paying positions in 3rd place behind Ceruzzi. And Ceruzzi is, no disrespect to Ceruzzi, but I would probably say a class below the guys that are behind him. They're all going to be fighting tooth and nail to get past that number 6 Ferrari as quick as they possibly can, as we see Warner, Apostle, Papin, Fisher, Wallisham, Manisha all getting caught up behind them as we go through the tight and twisties of Sector 2.
Yeah, so we saw there the Ferrari of Warner just trying to make a little move further up the running order. I think he's got past Papin now, or as it is behind the BMW of Apostle. So Warner having a good start. Papin, who I mentioned, who I praised for his consistency over the first 2 races, getting his elbows out now because he needs to get those elbows out as Warner feints to the inside. Not really a great place to try and find an overtaking on board now with Manisha currently in 9th position. That is Walshingham ahead. So Walshingham, another one of our championship contenders on the defensive, on the marbles for the run, steep run up the hill into T1, but that's not going to be the right place on the racetrack for Manisha to make an overtake further up the field. That is again Warner making moves around the outside of Apostle, gives him a kiss for good measure. Both cars bounce off each other. Apostle just about sneaked back into the strain through the snake at the start of the lap, and position gained for Warner, but perhaps a little bit more aggressive than we'd like to see at this stage in proceedings, while Caracas, Sarose and Miato at the front of the field are starting to gap this little battle pack headed by that blue Ferrari of Warner in 4th.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, Miato he can't take his hands off the wheel to rub them together, but I imagine rubbing his hands together going down the straight, because he's made a 1.46 second gap to Chris Warner behind, and Chris Warner's not really in contention to grab himself a handful of points and maybe move himself onto the final step of the overall podium. But it's between, like you say, Wallisham, Apostle, as we see Russo pick up a 5-second penalty. I can only assume that was to do with the incident. It's 10 seconds now with Cascal that involved Robbie Stapleford as well. But all the guys behind him need to get behind. And I mean, fair play to Gabor Sarossi, still in 2nd place, and will pick up a huge sum of points for this performance as well. And we're all also ignoring the fact that Grantas Caracas, with that time penalty in race number 2, is driving away with it and can really put himself in contention as well. I mean, it literally is all up for grabs, and I feel that there's going to be not just 2 points separating top 4, but maybe even throughout the rest of the top 10.
Yeah, Caracas has really found some lap time in that Porsche. There's a bit of contact further down. That's Apostle, so Sebastian Apostle, one of our championship contenders, facing the wrong way in the West Competition Racing number 1 BMW. A bit of strife befallen him in the penultimate corner. That's a disaster for Apostle, who tries to find a way back onto the racetrack. And in fact, he knows now that's the body language of a car. Man that knows the day is done. So a real shame for Apostle. Let's have a look what happened. A little bit of an accordion effect coming through the corner. Slight contact between 2 cars, but nothing overly dramatic to get worried about. But number 1 is the BMW that we're looking at. That is the car of Apostle. That's where the excitement is going to happen in a few moment's time. Let's see if we can catch exactly what goes on there. But Dan, we didn't want to see one of the big contenders taken out or falling out of contention, but sadly for Sebastian Apostle, that is very much day done and done. And this is what went wrong. Turned in, trying to go around the outside, not enough room for two BMWs, and sadly, that's that, day done. A scruffy end to an enjoyable night of racing.
Yeah, do you want to know what the worst part of that is, Paul? If you look in the bottom right, they're teammates. So from number 3 and number 1 of Fisher and Apostle, both drive for both representing here representing West Competition Racing. So I would not want to be part of that debrief at the end of this competition. I appreciate that it is individual competition, and that it is up for grabs. But we have seen in other competitions that, for example, Alpine Esports also on Sim Racing GP for the 3rd year of its iteration. We've got drivers there working in a team for an individual competition, but for some reason the message didn't get passed across, and those guys just got caught up with each other.
Dan, sorry to interrupt you there, but while you were saying that one, Chris Warner has just put a mega move on Andrea Miato to get the bottom step of the podium in 3rd place, or 4th place it's saying on the screen actually. So Warner has decided it's time to get his skates on as well in the Peak Performance 111 Ferrari. Great pass on Miato there, and potentially Miato thinking big picture, thinking about the championship game. But Warner, not to be discouraged, having got one car, now fancies a go to Sir Rossi as well for the run up in a T1. He has the inside line, he has the overlap, a little bit of a squirt at the rear of the car under braking, but that is 2 cars, 2 corners. Chris Warner has not given up on this one, sir.
He certainly hasn't, and that's going to bag him 24 points if he carries on in this way, unless he could do the unimaginable and get the closer 7-second gap up to Grantis Caracas, who is currently out on the lead. But yeah, I mean,
not impossible though.
It's not impossible.
Caracas struggled big time in Valencia with the car towards the end of the stint, so there's still an opportunity. While Warner seemed to get faster, Caracas seemed to get scruffier and slower. So potentially, Chris Warner still certainly, he's got his name in the book, if not necessarily written in ink.
Yeah, so it's definitely looking like the thing that we didn't want to see was the stewards have to decide the outcome of the race. But what we definitely didn't want to see even more was 2 of the leaders taking each other out, who happen to then also be teammates that are probably sat in a Discord call talking to each other while the race is carrying on. And anyway, we move on, and like you say, Chris Warner now in 2nd place. Grantis Caracas 7-second gap within 8 minutes of this race, as Miato, a little bit of, as you'll be accustomed to, Paul, TCR driving, bit of shoulders out there over the sausage curbs to get past Ceruzzi, and it can really now start to light the match, as it were, and try and get ahead of Warner and cement his job at the top of the leaderboard and taking home that 1st place trophy.
Yeah, as we're saying, touring cars, that's nothing more than a gentle hello from Andrea Miato there. Just a little bit of Miato, sorry. Just a light contact, just to discourage, shall we say, Sir Rossi from trying to fight that one out too hard on the exit of the corner. And it's done the job very nicely indeed. Miato now back up into 3rd position. Papin, that we're looking at here in the Lamborghini, the all black, the mean and menacing Lamborghini, loses control courtesy of contact with Sir Rossi on corner exit. So Papin, Mr. Consistency, has a consistent nightmare here at the Circuit of the Americas, goes to talk to the retaining wall for pit lane. There'll be damage on that car for good measure, drops down into 10th position, and I do fear that Remy Papin now has set himself to fail. That's not going to be the points he needs to secure the win. The question is, can he get enough to be in and around that top 3 and prize paying positions come the checker?
Yeah, I mean, you just see it there. Everyone's getting a little bit caught up. We knew this reverse grid would throw some spanners into the works, and Ceruzzi was there on merit alone. He performed well. He kept his nose clean at Bathurst, set himself up into, I believe it was starting at maybe 1st, or I can't remember. It was on the front row either way, 1st or 2nd for the start of the race. And we're seeing drivers just tripping up, trying to get past Ceruzzi. But Ceruzzi's also in the competition. They've got their name on the standings. They're up there in the top half of the table. They're also battling for prizes as well. And as we talk about battling for prizes, Andrea Miato, Chris Warner shimmies left, jumps back right. as we head into the braking zone for, I believe, is it turn 12? It's after the long straight either way, but Chris Warner then defends the inside, and Miato going to have to tee him up again to get another move done later in the race.
So if that next level racing goodie bag needs to come with a new pair of boxer shorts, because if you're Andrew Miato, you're going to need them at the end of this race, because that is very, very risky driving for a man in his position. He'll probably be aware that third place should just be enough to get the job done, but Miato not content to sit in third and shadow Chris Warner. He's trying to find a way past and braking on the curb, side by side with a rival that's desperate for the position, is not the sensible play for Andrea Miato at this moment in time. So he's got to be very cautious now. I know he's keen for the win. I know he's keen to move forward, but he needs to think big picture. And Andrea Miato putting himself in far more danger than is necessary at this stage of proceedings. Artem Manisha as well having a good drive so far with 11 minutes completed of this race. He started 10th, courtesy of the reverse grid for the victory last time out. He worked his way up into 6th position. Sarose, the man that's been very much the centre of attention, I think it has to be said, so far in this race, is next car up the road. And can Artem Manisha find a way cleanly past to continue his pursuit of Aidan Walsingham ahead?
Yeah, it's going to shine a little bit of light towards the back of the order. These guys still battling it out, and fair play to them. They're in the 22nd, 21st, and we've just seen the first thing that we mentioned in the free practice, a little bit of spill in the build-up that we had. First drive-through track limits for Dom Menardo in the Conquest Racing. I'll be honest, someone whose name I don't recognise. So we mentioned this in the pre-show and the build-up to race number 1. We're going to have top esport talent out here. Grantis Caracas being one of them, obviously Veloce esports driver, now I think 10 seconds ahead of Chris Warner, 9.8 seconds ahead of Chris Warner in second place. But these guys are here for the first time, and for this, it's like a sighting trip, a sighting lap, as it were. It's just dip my toe in the water for these esports competitions, see how I hold up, and to be honest, they're holding up really, really well. They're still having a battle. We see here they're 3 wide ahead between that Shadaka, Shutzin, names that we've seen that have been towards the top of the order in the first couple of races, and they're still battling it out, and if anything now, just for pride. A few points, top 20 will still pay out points, but Shadaka, Venturi, Menardo obviously with that drive-through, and Shutzin and Sterol both with penalties to see how they come out. So pride still on the line for these guys further down the order, but we do see the outcome to that incident between Apostle and Fisher, and Fisher's got a 5-second time penalty. Interestingly to note as well, in 21st place, that Sebastian Apostle's also got a 10-second time penalty, I assume, for an earlier incident. We'll have a little look into that. Well, I will note for the viewers at home, the results at the end of this, when we put the standings up on the screen, they are provisional. The drivers are more than welcome to protest any decisions they feel that they unfairly received penalties for, and then we'll review those. So we've got a huge team here behind the scenes looking at the incidents, and they'll get an independent review from another steward that didn't look at the incident in the first place, and then we'll make sure that a fair decision's reached. But it's looking good, though, for Andrea Miato at the end of the day.
Yeah, it really is. And just to go back to your point as well about the drivers in the lower positions in this race, yes, you're absolutely right, racing for a little bit of pride, but also just like real world racing, the more track time you get, the more experience to build. The more experience you build, the more tools that you have in your armoury for future endeavours, and it's valuable to do the learning. As Andrea Miato, very late on the brakes there, actually almost collected the rear of Warner ahead, but managed to get himself out of that danger zone. But Miato now has a very tasty indeed run down this back straight into, I believe it's turn 12 is the next corner. Miato again braking on the rumble strip on the outside, again in a riskier position than I think really he needs to be. He'll try and get the cutback through the corner, but he can't quite manage to get the car rotated fast enough and onto the throttle fast enough to put him alongside Chris Warner ahead. But Miato showing plenty of place in that Racing Racing Esports Bike Clash number 73 Lamborghini, and while these two are squabbling, that is bringing Aidan Walshingham into the conversation as well. So Miato can afford to lose another position if my ridiculous live maths are anything to go by. But what he cannot afford, Dan, is to go too wide too many times and then go say hello to the Armco barrier, because that would be disastrous for his championship aspirations.
Yeah, it certainly will. I'm also I'm also guilty of doing some really dodgy quick maths behind the scenes, and at the moment it looks like Andrea Miato is in the lead with 64 points after the 3 races, and then it's a tie for second between Wallisham and Manisha. So if that's the case, it will go to count back. But Grantis Caracas, as part of the phenomenal performance that he's been putting on so far as well, has thrown his hat in the ring, should I say, with how he's going to come out at the end of this, sitting himself. Actually makes it a 3-way tie so far between Caracas, Manisha and Wallisham. So lots of head scratching to do at the end of this evening. As we'll give, like I said, as we mentioned, we'll give you the provisional standings at the end of the race, and then we'll put out the full standings across all the social media channels once the protest window has closed and the points have been finalised. But 4 minutes to go, Paul. I mean, I've already put 30 points next to Caracas, I'll be honest. That bit's a done deal. But how are we looking to see where this final podium's going to come out?
Well, honestly, those little quick maths calculations you've done, Dan, throw them away, because I will almost certainly guarantee things will not stay the same in the next 4 minutes. By the time we take the checkered flag, there are going to be some changes, and Andrea Miato tries to immediately prove that prediction true as it throws the car down the inside of Chris Warner. Warner back on the attack again. A little bit of tapping, touring car style between the two. That pushes Miato wide. He's more concentrated on his rival than the racetrack. Can Miato get back in line again before Walsingham gets involved in the black Ferrari? Walsingham looking to the inside. He'll know that he needs to make as many places as he possibly can between now and the checkered flag to secure himself a top 3 position. But Andrea Miato has either done absolutely no mental arithmetic whatsoever, or is a braver man than I will ever be, because he's putting that car in the riskiest of risky places with a surefire championship lead further down the running order as well. We've got a bit of contact there. That's Kristen Snotrich in the Lamborghini. Kirsten, Snotinch in the Lamborghini in a little bit of strife. But Aidan Walsingham, now the back of this 3-car field, is arguably the man with the most to win for moving forward, and the sandwich, the meat in the sandwich of these 3 cars, Andrea Miato, is the man with the most to lose. And I'll tell you something for nothing, and it's not very often I say this, I'm damn glad it's not me on that track.
Yeah, I mean, our blood pressure goes through the roof, and nothing actually changes on the order through there. Like I say, Miato just needs to just tighten the screw. I mean, it's racing at the end of the day. You don't know what's going on between the ears when they're out on track. But yeah, Miato, just calm it down. Don't pick yourself up any silly penalties. It's a 10-second penalty here, and Manisha's back in point. Or even, yeah, I mean, Wallisham, Caracas, any of those guys are all back in the positions. You don't want to do anything stupid that could result in Chris Warner. So I don't know why I want to call him Christian Warner. It is Chris Warner. Will end up going round and costing him a penalty. And especially if you're going to be a bit egregious, we saw in the compound in sector 3 as well, that with those two going side by side as they're looking for
Good
it
Lord.
again, Aiden just like eyes lights up, and what's he gonna do? Oh!
Can I open my eyes? Can I open my eyes? They go side by side, contact again between the two, and kissing each other down the short link straight between the next set of corners. But Walsingham keeps the car to the outside. That will become the inside. Miato's vulnerable here now for a pirouette. Miato gets it sideways, luckily bounces the car back in a straight line. But if I'm Andrea Miato now, get your foot on that middle pedal. Take yourself out of this situation, man. What are you doing? This is too much risk. You are going to throw away the championship driving like this one. Andrea Miato needs to put the sensible shoes on now and think, yeah, I've had some fun. Yes, this is good, but if you want to win it, you cannot afford to bin it. And Andrea Miato, at this moment in time, is very much under pressure and in a risky position, as once again Walsingham has an opportunity on the run of the hill into the first corner.
Do you know what, right? I've not stood up in my chair whilst commentating in a very, very long time. And when that contact that sent Miato on a half spin came round, I was straight up. I was like, it's all gone down the toilet. I mean, like I say, we don't know what's in between the drivers' ears at the moment and what they're thinking.
Nothing
but
at this
yeah,
rate.
exactly. But yeah, I mean, we're struggling to do dodgy maths. So fair play to him. He's not. He might not have any idea of how well he's doing in the championship. He's just trying to get the best results I can in each of the 3 rounds and see what plays out from here. But fair play to him. I mean, we've got the ability of multiple screens and people in the background and each other to bounce stupid, crazy ideas off of. Whereas he could be sitting there in his own little bubble at home, steering wheel in hand, thinking, just get the best performance I can. And right now, that's third. That's not letting Aiden pass me and potentially throwing away 2 or 3 extra points that I could be needing when it comes down to it at the end. But we're talking about the end, and Wallisham's picked up a 5-second penalty. I assume it is for that contact, and I would say all's fair in love and war. If he would have got ahead of Miato, I would have said, yeah, okay, maybe he gets a penalty for that. But like I say, they're entitled to protest it. But the important thing here, Grantis Caracas, dominant performance, Paul. 14.5 seconds ahead of Chris Warner, and going to come home to take the final race win.
Yeah, that's the way that you want to sign off a campaign. The last time that you're remembered out on track needs to be the best performance possible. And Grantis Caracas, for the final time this season, exits the final corner here at the Circuit of the Americas. He will take the checkered flag, and with it, race victory in race number 3 of the grand finale at the Circuit of the Americas for the Next Level Racing GT3 Cup. Just behind him, Chris Warner will exit the last turn to take second position, but all eyes on that man, Andrea Miato. He loses third at the line, but regains it again, courtesy of Walsingham's time penalty. And Andrea Miato provisionally is our Next Level Racing GT3 Cup champion for 2023. He's took a victory. He's raced right to the very last lap and last corner of this competition, and his reward is first place in the overall standings. With it, a trophy, Next Level Racing goodies as well, and that is, and no other driver deserves this championship as much as that man for entertainment value alone, Dan Terry.
No, he certainly doesn't. I mean, we were all heart in mouth moment towards those last couple of laps, but I think, yeah, no matter what the outcome is, Miato just needed the top 3 and other positions to fall in his place. I know Manisha's going to be, I think Manisha, with the count back and the penalties for Wallisham, might have just grabbed the second place on the podium, but anything after that, I have no idea. That's going to be down to the down to the spreadsheet guys behind the scenes that are sorting out the standings, and Sim Racing GP who are putting the standings in as they come off of the servers. But yeah, fantastic drive there from Andrea Miato. Is going to provisionally, I will just say that just to cover my own back, provisionally put himself as the competition winner. We've got the standings on the screen for the first 2 rounds. The final standings are coming in as we speak, and we'll update them as soon as they come in. But Paul, just catch your breath.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic race. There's always a danger when you're having a multiple race finale of a championship campaign that the last one can be a little bit of an anticlimax, because people are sort of consolidating the points that they scored up to that point, playing the numbers game, playing the strategic outlook for their result. But Andrea Miato, none of that, thanks very much. I'm at the top of the standings going in, and the only thing I need to do is beat everybody, and I'm a guaranteed winner. And yes, the man is braver than me. Yes, he potentially, I think, Andrea Miato put himself in more dangerous scenarios than is entirely sensible, but he must have known what he was doing, because the end result is he crossed the line 4th, which will be 3rd by the time the penalties are applied, and that is more than enough points to secure the top of the standings for this season in the Next Level Racing GT3 Cup. And more importantly for me in the box and for you folks at home, did it in a very, 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 very entertaining way indeed.
Oh, yeah, it's been an absolutely fantastic showing from all the drivers involved, from top down to bottom and everywhere in between. I know there's a few incidents lined in there, and a few drivers decided that the race was over. But we had everything. We had teammates coming together. We had last lap contact and TCR style driving. We had instance in the mountain, fantastic overtakes in race number 2, and a real professional drive from Andrea Miato at Valencia in turn 1. Just to qualify, lap record in qualifying, lap record in the race, kept his nose clean from the instant that I would dread to feel how Chris Warner feels at the moment. Hopefully he might have got himself up the order with a good performance here, finishing in second place behind Caracas. But yeah, the guys behind the scenes are just working out the standings, and we'll get them up on the screen for you. But in the meantime, Paul, we have got the winner of the second chat giveaway. If you want to supply
tell me when the drum roll starts.
You can start if you want to start me off with a drum roll. I'm doing it behind the scenes as well, while I'm just trying to find the person in the relevant chat they're in. And the winner of the Next Level Racing GT Elite Light Rig is from YouTube, and their name is Chicken 6000. So congratulations, Chicken 6000. If you could reach out to DT in the Next Level Racing Discord, and I will also reach out to you in the YouTube chat, so don't go anywhere, just stay there. I'll do that in a second once we've just finished off the standings, and we'll get that prize sorted out for you, and we'll reach out to you and get you out there. So just got confirmation that the standings are done. We're just going to put them into the nice fancy little updated sheets. And
what you do with that, actually, Chris Warner and Don Bernardo both come into the chat saying great fun and thanks to all involved. So thank you guys for engaging in our chat on YouTube or the Next Level Racing channel. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you in this event with us and watch your racing endeavours unfold. And okay, better luck next time, of course, for those that didn't quite manage to get the result they wanted. But I think everybody, it's fair to say, Dan, everyone that's taken part in this, not just today, but the whole 500 plus drivers throughout the competition, can be incredibly proud of their efforts.
Yeah, they definitely can. I mean, these guys have really put on a show for those at home, and for those that are out on track. I mean, we saw battles. We had clips of the guys towards the back of the order in the final race, going tooth and nail down the back straight. We had, I mean, 5 fantastic. To be fair, in total, 8 rounds of fantastic competition. If you include the 3 in the final here, but yeah. Either way, no matter what happens, we hope to have all these 32 drivers that you've seen on screen with you this evening back next year. They'll all get a free pass, as the guys did this year, into the quarterfinal phase. So they'll be out, hopefully be back on your screens next year as well to see how that takes out. And as you can tell by the amazing filling I'm doing, I'm still just finishing off these bits and pieces so you can see it on the screen of what the standings look like. But it's very tasty.
You do the maths and get it up, and I'll do the filling for a minute.
Don't worry,
get it done. But I do actually. This is not filling. This is a very, very important message that I want to put out there. Is a big thank you to everybody that's joined us during the course of this broadcast on the Next Level Racing YouTube channel, social media, on Facebook, on Twitch, I'm on TikTok as well, which is an unusual platform, and it's nice to be on TikTok too. Thank you all for engaging in the comment section, entering the competitions to win, and hopefully just enjoying some great racing. We put these kind of things on, and I think I can speak on behalf of Next Level Racing as well on this one for you folks. We all here absolutely love real and virtual motor racing. We love putting these broadcasts together and hopefully providing great platforms for people in which to come racing, and great platforms for people to watch the racing action as well. So it's been an absolute pleasure to have your company this Monday evening. It's unseasonably warm, it has to be said, down here in the UK, Monday evening for these 3 absolutely cracking races. And of course, I'm probably telling you something you already know, but if you enjoyed watching this one, then get over to the simracing.gp platform. If you're not already registered, get yourself registered and engage in almost endless amounts of online racing for different communities on different platforms, different simulations. There is something, a little bit of something for everybody. So go over there, become a part of the simracing.gp family, and there you go, Dan. You've worked your magic, mate. Do you want to take it away on announcing our winner?
Yeah. So finally, thank you very much for your patience and your filling there. It was fantastic to give. And to echo what Paul was saying, we're always welcome to come and join us at simracing.gp. Not just for this competition, we've got hundreds of communities doing racing all over the platform. But as the overlay will tick back over, you'll see the bottom half of the standings there. But Andrea Miato, with a staggering 64 points, takes the title of Next Level Racing GT3 Cup 2023 champion. He is the official winner. Well, official provisional winner while we do that. but he had no incidents. He was not involved in any incidents or anything to protest. So I think either way, I wouldn't put a house on it because I don't have a house. But I would put a house on Andrea Miato coming out the other side of this as the winner. And Artem Manisha, I'm so happy for them as well. Just that overtake on the first. I'm just like to have to do it in a slightly quick, to have the balls to do that in this competition in the final on the first corner on the first lap is just set the tone for a consistent performance outright. And then the dominant winner of race number 3, Grantis Caracas, taking that third place podium. I think overall, 58, 57, 54, and then tied on 46, which we will deal with on count back later on down the line for the pride that is finishing down there in the top half of the table. But overall, fantastic. Well done, Andrea Miato. We'll reach out to those guys that have got hold of the prizes during the week, and we'll get all that out there. But I think we're about there, Paul. Thank you very much for your company and your patience this evening.
My friend, absolute pleasure. Thank you for asking me along once again for what is quickly becoming one of my favourite projects. Is the Next Level Racing GT3 Cup. Always produces exceptional racing. I'm loving the format change for 3 short, sharp, quick and exciting races, and the reverse grids are always good value for money as well. So big props to yourselves at SGP and to Next Level Racing for putting together, once again, a really good show that I've thoroughly enjoyed myself.
Yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic. So that'll be it for us this evening. Guys, thank you very much for tuning in. As you mentioned, across the Next Level Racing social media channels, go and give them a follow on Twitter to keep an eye on what's coming up across ACC, iRacing, Call of Duty, everything. If you, like I say, if you're in the Americas, if you're in the United States of America, you can get yourself 5% off anything on nextlevelracing.com with the code SGP and the number 5. But it's been absolutely fantastic. The chat winners we'll reach out to, and we'll make sure we get those details off you to arrange that. But thank you very much, Paul, for joining us this evening. We're going to leave you with it there, and we'll see you back here next year for the Next Level Racing GT3 Cup 2024 will be next year, and it'll be an absolutely great showcase for everyone involved. But thank you very much for joining us, guys, and we'll see you out next time.
Have a good one.
Speak
You
to
too,
later on.
boss.
Bye.
Cheers, mate. Ta-da.